Alright, I need everyone to stop what they're doing because what I'm about to tell you is insane. Like, this might genuinely be one of the biggest collapses we've ever seen from a mainstream artist, and it's happening in real time right in front of us. Because as of this week, it might actually be over for D4VD. And I don't mean canceled on Twitter over. I mean career ending, no coming back, goodbye forever over. You wanna know how bad it is? The police have now allegedly named him an official suspect in the death of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas. Not rumored, not speculated, not person of interest. Credible law enforcement sources reportedly saying the actual word, suspect. And the second that news hit the internet, everything changed. Every theory, every denial, every PR statement, every excuse, gone. But that's not even the part that has the internet melting down right now. Because apparently, despite what his team told the world for months, David is allegedly not cooperating with authorities at all. And when I tell you that revelation flipped this case upside down, I'm not exaggerating. We basically went from maybe this is a misunderstanding to this man is cooked. But trust me, that is just scratching the surface. Because new details about the timeline, the Santa Barbara trip, the private investigator's findings, the items found inside the house, the surveillance footage, and the condition of Celeste's body, all of that just dropped. And it is genuinely some of the darkest, most disturbing info we've heard so far. So grab a drink, sit down, and don't move, because this entire story just got way more complicated and way more damning than anyone expected. Let's rewind for a second. For months, the police said nothing. Nothing about David, nothing about the car, nothing about any involvement. They didn't even label him a person of interest. It was like they went into witness protection. Meanwhile, the whole internet was screaming that something didn't add up. People on Reddit were connecting dots. TikTok detectives were basically solving the case themselves. Twitter was pointing out every lyric, every stream clip, every photo, but the police stayed silent. And because of that silence, some people actually started to believe maybe, just maybe, David wasn't tied to this the way it looked. They thought the car could have been stolen. Maybe he got targeted. Maybe there was another Celeste. There were excuses everywhere. But then today happened. TMZ comes out with a report. Multiple major outlets follow up. And suddenly, law enforcement sources are allegedly saying the exact words we've all been waiting to hear. David is being viewed as a suspect. And let me be clear, for the police to even whisper that, they must feel extremely confident behind the scenes. Because if they're wrong, he can sue them into another dimension. Now let's talk about the part that has everyone's jaw on the floor. Months ago, David's PR team said he was cooperating fully. They made it sound like he was sitting down with detectives, handing over everything, doing his civic duty. They practically had him shining badges the way they described it. But according to this new report, yeah, no. Apparently, he was never cooperating. Not then, not now, not at all. And look, legally, he has the right to stay silent. But when you are the last known person connected to a missing minor, and that minor is found deceased in your car, inside your frunk, wrapped in plastic, dismembered, refusing to cooperate looks insane. The internet doesn't hear legal protection, they hear guilty. This destroyed every last shred of the narrative his team tried to build. Then it got even worse. The Citizen app, you know, the one with over 13 million users, blasted out a push notification about the case. They included the claims that David is being viewed as a suspect. He is allegedly not cooperating. Police believe multiple people were involved, and the case is now being treated as a homicide. Imagine being one of the fastest rising artists in the world, only for your name to get pushed onto millions of people's phones for the worst reason possible. This wasn't YouTube commentary anymore. This wasn't TikTok edits. This was mainstream world-level reporting, and the optics were horrific. Then we get hit with another bombshell. Investigators are now officially treating this as a homicide case, even though the medical examiner hasn't finished the cause of death, even though toxicology isn't done, even though decomposition makes it harder to piece things together. Usually, police wait for forensic confirmation before they use the word homicide. The fact that they've moved forward anyway is extremely telling. It means something in the evidence they do have already points heavily in that direction. The source said investigators believe whoever dismembered the body likely had help, and that part is chilling, because for months the internet speculated about accomplices, but hearing a law enforcement source say it out loud, that changes everything. Let's talk about the Santa Barbara situation, because this detail came out of nowhere and has everyone scratching their head. According to law enforcement sources, David took a random day trip earlier this year, middle of the night, drives to a remote location in Santa Barbara County, stays for several hours, and then returns to LA. No explanation, no reason, no context. When you line that up with the timeline, Celeste last seen on January 2nd, the Tesla moving around in May, then abandoned in late July. People are starting to ask whether this trip could have been the last time he saw her. Now this is not confirmed, but the timing is suspicious enough that even investigators are reportedly looking into it. This is where the private investigator comes in. The owner of the house David was renting hired a PI, and this guy is allowed to talk. According to him, the last known sighting of Celeste alive was January 2nd, 2025. That date keeps coming up. Then Then he explains that surveillance cameras show David's Tesla being moved around the neighborhood in May. Not for a day or two, for weeks. Different parking spots, different streets. Then, on July 29th, the Tesla is suddenly dumped in a final parking spot, and that just so happens to be the exact day the tour bus leaves. That is not a coincidence. At least, no one believes it is. This is the question everyone keeps asking. If it looks this bad, why hasn't he been arrested? TMZ says an arrest is not imminent, but that doesn't mean he's innocent. It means police need more. They need the medical examiner to determine cause of death. They need toxicology. They need phone records, digital records, DNA links, travel data, timeline confirmations. They need everything airtight, so a lawyer can't poke holes and free him minutes later. They get one shot. If they arrest too early, the case falls apart. So they're moving slow and quietly. At this point, even if David is cleared, his career is basically over. He's lost all brand partnerships. His tour is canceled. His streams plummeted. He's gone dark online. Fans abandoned him. Artists unfollowed him. Industry people cut ties. And now he's being talked about as a homicide suspect. After this week, the version of him that existed before, gone. Career-wise, he is radioactive. Another piece making this even more disturbing is the age factor. People now believe he had known Celeste for years, that she was extremely young when they first connected. And even if he had nothing to do with the homicide, the rumors alone about their association have destroyed his reputation. There is no PR comeback from this. No apology tour, no rebrand, no "I was misunderstood." The public has decided. The age gap isn't just a detail, it's the gasoline being poured all over this entire fire. Because here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to say out loud. Even if, and this is a huge if, David didn't personally harm Celeste, the public perception surrounding a grown artist being so closely linked to a girl who was allegedly as young as 12 or 13 when they first connected, that alone is enough to nuke a career. People tried to defend this early on. They said things like, well, maybe they were just friends, or maybe the screenshots were fake, or maybe the photos were misinterpreted. But now that every new piece of evidence points back to years of connection, and now that the private investigator's timeline places her in his orbit long before she went missing, it's over. The internet is not forgiving with this type of thing. There is no bounce back arc. There is no redemption tour. Once the public believes you were involved with a minor, your career is done. End of show. Lights off. And once the homicide angle entered the picture, everything else became radioactive by association. This is why the age gap matters, because the public already sees this as predatory behavior at minimum, and something much darker at worst. And you can't PR spin your way out of either. Let's talk about the lyrics, because whether they should matter or not, they do now. Romantic homicide has gone from a heartbreak anthem teens cry to in their bedrooms to something far more sinister. And while people used to say things like, it's just a metaphor, now they're going, hold on, maybe it wasn't. Because when you have lines like, in the back of my mind you died, I didn't even cry. And then in real life, a girl connected to him is found dead, dismembered, in the frunk of his Tesla, people aren't hearing metaphor anymore. They're hearing a manifesto. Then add in the imagery from his alter ego Itami, the references to bodies being transported in cars, the trunk visuals in music videos, the dark romantic obsession themes, and suddenly, artistic expression becomes circumstantial evidence in the eyes of the internet. And let's be honest, the internet doesn't separate art from artist. Once the storyline fits, they lock in and refuse to look away. This isn't fair in a court of law, but it is absolutely how the court of public opinion operates. This brings us to the alter ego issue. David's entire creative identity revolves around his dark persona Itami, meaning pain in Japanese. And normally, this would just be edgy teenage creativity. Plenty of artists have alter egos. But then you start remembering what he said in interviews. He described Itami as an agent of chaos. He said Itami appears in his music videos doing violent or destructive acts. He even said he had a manga storyline where his alter ego commits murders that he, the detective, has to solve. That was all just edgy lore, until now. Because when real-world violence enters the picture, suddenly people ask whether the line between fiction and reality was thinner than he made it sound. Did he create the character, or did he use the character to express things he couldn't say as himself? That question is haunting the internet right now, and it's not going away anytime soon. Here's where things take a turn none of us expected. People have been digging into old music videos and live performances, and suddenly, the imagery is looking eerily familiar. In one video, there are visuals of a body being dragged. In another, there's foreshadowing of death and rebirth. In another, Itami is seen in a trunk. And sure, yes, it could all be pure coincidence, artistic symbolism. But symbolisms aren't supposed to line up with real dead bodies in your car. So now, people are going back frame by frame like it's the Zapruder film, picking apart every scene, every costume, every reference, every lyric. And every piece they find just adds another brick in the wall that is currently closing in on him. But let me end this with what actually matters. This isn't about clout. This isn't about streams. This isn't about cancel culture. This isn't about the fall of a rising star. This is about a 15-year-old girl who didn't make it home. This is about a family waiting for answers. This is about justice, not speculation, not internet theories, justice. And as disturbing as everything is right now, we finally have something the case hasn't had in a long time. Movement. Real movement. And if everything continues down this road, then yeah, it's over for D4VD. Goodbye forever. Anyway, this concludes today's video. Be sure to subscribe to LoafTube for future celebrity videos, and turn on that post notification bell so you don't miss out on any future uploads. Until then, see you in the next one.